Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Shape Unplugged. I'm your host, Stephanie Morris, CEO of Shape America. And today it is my absolute honor and privilege to have three amazing, incredible guests on the show today to talk a little bit about Health Moves Minds, Shape America's signature fundraising program developed by teachers and for teachers. And these three teachers are amazing Health Moves Minds teachers who recently implemented the program in their schools. And they have some great stories and examples to share with everybody listening. So without further ado, welcome to Shape Unplugged, to Jeff Ladd, to Krista Winn, and to Leah Wheeling. And Jeff, Krista, and Leah, can I just ask you to introduce yourselves and share a little bit with our listeners about who you are and where you live and what you teach? And maybe we'll lead off with Jeff.
Hi, I'm Jeff Ladd. I live in St. Louis, Missouri, a little suburb, about 30 minutes outside of St. Louis. And I work in Forest Park Elementary, which is a third, fourth, and fifth grade school. And I've taught PE for the last 6 years. I've been in the classroom prior to that, but PE's been kind of my calling for the last 6 years. So it's been good.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff. And Krista?
I'm Krista Winn, and I teach in Port Angeles, Washington. Port Angeles is kind of the very northwest corner of the state, and I've been teaching for 37 years, mostly at the elementary level. The last 32 have been at the elementary level, and I teach at Hamilton Elementary. It's a K through 6 school, and I absolutely love it.
Awesome. Thank you, Krista. And Leah?
I'm Leah Wheeling, and I teach at Simley Middle School in Bismarck, North Dakota. I teach 6th grade PE and also a 6th grade digital literacy course. And this is my 11th year of teaching, and I absolutely love it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Leah. I love the diversity of each of you and where you live. And I can't wait to hear a little bit more about what you did with Health Moves Minds in your school. So thank you again for being guests on the show. As I mentioned at the outset, we could not be prouder of the awesome effort that each of you had within your schools with Health Moves Minds and all the time and energy you put into that. Each of you had different approaches. And so I know our listeners would love to hear a little bit about what drew you to this program to begin with. What inspired you to try Health Moves Minds? And why don't we start with Krista for this one?
Well, I'm on the Shape Washington board, and initially Health Moves Minds was looking for someone to pilot it and also become a leader at the state level. And so I raised my hand and said, sure, I'll do it, and fell in love with it from the first time I did it, done it ever since the pilot. And mainly, I really liked the curriculum that came along with it. So it wasn't just a fundraiser where you were saying, okay, kids, let's go raise some money. There actually had components that went along with it that taught students things. And the staff at my school was so behind it that we now do it school-wide as far as mindful minutes. Activities from the curriculum are done school-wide, not just in PE. So that was a big drawing factor for me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Krista. And Leah?
My story is not that much different. I'm on the ND Shape board, and as things changed, there was this opportunity that came about, and I didn't get in on the pilot. I was like, oh, I should raise my hand for that, but I'm like, oh, I'll give it a year. I kind of got some other projects going. So then I decided, when I first started, I'm like, we're going to give this a run. Our previous programs had been very successful, so we gave it a shot, and it's been super fun to implement, and the students have enjoyed it. We kind of just carried over some ideas from before and have just been rocking each year with the Health Moves Minds.
That's awesome. And Jeff?
I've more talked to one of my friends who's also a PE teacher. His name's Kyle Salvo at Twin Chimneys. He kind of emphasized the social emotional learning aspect of it and how the impact it has on his school, especially coming out of COVID. A lot of things going on where I think that Shape and Health Moves Minds can have a strong impact on the students. Plus, he mentioned and emphasized how good the fundraising efforts were, and talking to him was kind of my big eye-opening with how impactful Health Moves Minds is.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff. And yeah, Kyle has been an amazing mentor in the program for sure. So that's really great to hear. So talk to us a little bit, please, about your fundraising effort within your schools. Each of you touched on that briefly, but can you just share a little bit about what you think worked well for you in your school, whether that be incentives or a particular opportunity for the students or the families, And maybe, if you have any insights about getting administrator buy-in and support, we'd love to hear about that as well. But yes, share with us a little bit about that. For this one, let's start off with Leah.
Okay, so Simley is an amazing school to work at. The generosity is outstanding here. And so as we do various campaigns, like whether it be our sports teams or our departments, that is something that has just been so wonderful to be a part of the culture here at Simley Middle School. And so we added kind of our PE event was always in that March Madness timeframe. And so we started with like various exercises for our warm-ups and then kind of incorporating some of the curriculum there. And then we just do a 2-week fundraiser block, and we got a couple of different shirts because our Phi-Ed uniforms are gray and kind of boring. So I designed a shirt, and this one is just physical education, more than busy, happy, good, right? Because we are a core class and we're important, and stressing that to the kids and talking about all the amazing things we do. So the kids got to bring in $10 and exchange their kind of old Phi-Ed shirt for a new cool looking Phi-Ed shirt, right? So that is kind of a fun way to see that message go out in the community too, because the kids will wear them for more than just Phi-Ed. They'll come back the next year and you're like, ooh, that shirt looks good on you. So then like last year, we rocked the Olympic theme, and we used like our district's mission and vision with it as well. So the shirts, the design, that's a huge motivator for the kids as we're going through, because then they get to kind of exchange in that middle school opportunity. They feel so cool when they get to be a little bit different. And so then we host a March Madness tournament. And then last year we did the Olympic tournament instead. And that's the kids bring in money. And so in the past, when we do the March Madness tournament, we have some staff that are extremely good at basketball, like 6'10" basketball players and like some very talented athletes. And teachers get involved, they come on down, and the students that bring in the most donations get to draft teachers to their teams first. And so that's a huge incentive. If you want a 6'10" ex-basketball player on your team, you bring in the most, which it drives our donations up a little bit. That helped kind of some of the first years. And then we shifted as the curriculum plays more onto the focus of a lot of different other activities. The last couple of years, we've done a variety of different activities in the gym, and some kids really love that, because before they didn't necessarily all love basketball, whereas we do everything from a little hockey section to a badminton to a nitro ball section to like a 5-catch football area that we play, and then Mission Impossible, which works on teamwork. So they're not necessarily all super high intense athletic sessions, and we do that for 90 minutes and they rotate around. I think we do 6 games, different varieties there. And we always congratulate the students on the impact they're making with the community. So that's super fun. I mean, the kids love it. It's a great time to kind of be in that March Madness. I think we will go back to the March Madness theme this year versus Olympics. Just the timing works a little better, but the shirts are a great incentive. So that's our program in a nutshell. That was kind of a lot of talking, but I know it's a big event and it's fun and the kids love it, and it's part of the culture here at Simley.
No, I love it. And I love the visuals. Thank you so much for sharing those shirts. I agree. Those are awesome. Who wouldn't want to wear those? That's really, really cool. Yeah. So Jeff, can we hear from you a little bit about all of this?
Yeah, so being our first year, it was a little daunting because it's such a big change from prior programs we've run. So I really focused in on the incentives, so I could kind of get my feet wet with what the program is and how to implement it. But it was easy to implement. It was easy to sell to the staff and the administration, because this is something that is impactful across PE, across the classroom, something that students can use in a variety of ways, in a variety of settings. So it is easy to kind of get more buy-in with it. But then with the incentives, one of the big incentives that we do is we kind of swap between sleeping on the roof or dyeing hair or duct tape parties. So I let them vote on it, and they all voted for dyeing my hair pink or red for a period of time. And you act it up like you're really upset about it, and that kind of drives the kids to keep bringing more money in, because they really want to see you with that red or pink hair for a while. And so that was one thing we did, where I ended up dyeing my hair red. And for kids that raised $100, we did a duct tape party, which was big because with COVID, we haven't had any sort of like close contact event parties with something like that for a while. So that really got students excited, was doing the duct tape party. So those were our big, the incentives were a big push. And like I said, it was it was daunting at first because the program's new to me, but it was a big hit for the school for sure. And I had students, my number one student that raised the most money, her grandfather struggled with depression throughout his life, and it kind of hit home with that family. And it was it's sad, but it's a great learning opportunity for a lot of kids, and a way for her to kind of show her support for the program as well. And she got our gym is named after her right now. So actually not after her, it's after her grandpa. She chose to name it after her grandpa.
I just got all the chills. I mean, that's just amazing. Your story is exactly why we created Health Moves Minds, with input, of course, from teachers just like you on what's important and meaningful to a school and their community and the students. And I just love all of that. And also, I have to say, I think your wife is pretty awesome for being okay with all those options, including red hair. And also, yeah. I think you're awesome for being brave enough to let them choose, because wow,
it was supposed to be red, and it ended up pink. So they really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. That's awesome. So fantastic. All right, Krista, let's hear from you.
Well, because of COVID, things were kind of tight budget wise. And so I didn't have money that I could go out and purchase incentives, which I want people to know that you don't have to do that. The one that I chose was to have the top money raiser was the PE teacher of the day. And so that, I didn't have to use any money for that. And it ended up being a sixth grader. And in the past, when I've done PE teacher of the day, like if it's a first grader or something, they come in and they kind of just stand there and they just stand next to me, and then that's their experience. But this sixth grader came in, she had a lesson plan. Not only did she have one lesson plan, she had a different lesson plan for each grade level that day. Usually they'll choose our favorite game that we play, and they'll just always say, we're going to play pin soccer. And then the kids love them. But she came in, she had a clipboard. She had the lessons, like I said, for each grade level, and they weren't just playing games. She was instructing them. Our fundraiser event had been jumping rope on the week of Valentine's Day, and since we're focusing on kindness, and so she just extended that we had done and was helping them, the first graders, learn how to jump rope. And so it was just amazing. And then the one thing I did provide for her was that I wear a different hoodie each day to teach in. And it was something that the kids just latched onto every day. They'd say, well, why aren't you wearing a hoodie today? So I found myself, I have quite a collection now. And I added to the PE teacher of the day that they would also get to design a hoodie for the winner and myself. And so since I'm into crafting, she got to design the hoodie that she wanted. I thought it would have something to do with PE. Instead, it was a giant pineapple. But the two of us have matching hoodies, and that was kind of cool for her. And she still checks to make sure that I'm still wearing the hoodie. But those are some things that I didn't have to have a lot of funding for the incentives. The kids were excited about that. And the other thing that helped was they're very competitive. So the platform for Health Moves Minds, when they can go on there and see how much they've raised compared to the other kids, they were getting pretty competitive with that.
That is awesome. I absolutely love all of that story. And wow, Krista, I feel like you maybe have inspired a future physical education teacher, which is so cool, right? And something we kind of talk about constantly, like helping kids feel inspired to also enter into this profession someday. I would not be surprised at all if that happens. I feel like I want to follow up, in 10 years time, 12 years time, and find out like where she's at now. That is so fantastic. What a great story. Thank you so much for sharing. So I know that one of you, Jeff, you chose to raise money for a charity, right? And can you speak a little bit about that decision and how that worked?
So for this year, or last year, and hopefully this year, we haven't decided this year, but we chose to do our PTC as a charity. When we get equipment, it's fun. They see the equipment that we get and they have fun with it, but it's not as impactful as improving your school with something that you see every day. But we still did something, which is I know it kind of touches upon your next question. We chose our PTC because we wanted to improve our playground, and they wanted to add Gaga pits to our playground. And so we chose our PTC and the PTC helped fund Gaga pits so that we could, so every day at recess, they have a little bit more to do, more options. And being from a more of a blue collar school where it's the PTC is not many parents are able to be involved because they're working 1 or 2 jobs, 2 or 3 jobs. It's good to get those extra funds, and it really helped the kids with seeing, you know, this is what we did. This is because we raise money for a good cause, but we also were able to provide something for our school that's going to be impactful for a long time.
I love that example. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jeff. And I love that you pointed out just how it can really be a partnership. And I know as a parent, right? I've got 3 kids. PTAs put in a lot of work to fundraise for different programmatic aspects of their school's environment. And I think it's always hard to feel like maybe you're competing with that effort if you're doing your own fundraising program. And so the opportunity to choose a PTC or PTA is a really great possibility, I think, for so many schools, because you're doing it together across the board and you have buy-in, and it's about lifting up one effort together for the betterment of the entire school, just as you pointed out, Jeff. And the other thing I really love that I just want to take a moment to mention is the notion that you can use a Gopher gift card across 6 different brands. There are so many different products that can be purchased with that gift card, including things to promote a more active learning environment for a classroom setting. And so to get classroom teachers kind of excited about that too, I think is a really great opportunity, because we all know budgets are tight across the school, across the board in a school environment. With that said, speaking of different ways to use the Gopher gift cards, would love to hear a little bit from each of you about what you chose. Jeff just mentioned one possibility, of course, the Gaga pits on a playground for recess, which is wonderful. Can Krista and Leah also maybe chime in a little bit with how have you used your gift card, or what will you use it for? Krista, why don't we start with you?
Well, I used my gift card immediately. I don't like to leave money sitting around. And because of COVID last year, COVID protocols had that I had to teach outside every day. I couldn't be inside. And for some places that's great. And I know that that's what they do. But for Washington State, it's cold and wet. And so what I needed to do is I didn't want to use the same equipment that I use inside. I didn't want to be taking it outside. So I purchased just basic PE equipment, rubber balls, jump ropes, hula hoops, and soccer goals for equipment that could be used outside. And it didn't matter if it got muddy or bent or anything like that. So it really was just to provide PE equipment for us to use outside.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Krista. I love that example. And Leah, what about you?
So we used it to supplement kind of our basic PE needs as we go through, just to add to our budget. We are pretty well supported at Simley. We have an amazing administration. And then we were able to kind of expand on that and add in Omnicom balls, like the big 48-inch ones, because those are not necessarily cheap either. So we were able to add those in, and then the huge cones we were able to add in. So like a 36-inch cone, which was absolutely phenomenal. So so we got 12 of those, 2 6-packs. And that was what we ended up spending our money on this past year.
So fun. I love those Omnicom balls. That's awesome. And I bet your students absolutely love them too. That's really
Oh yeah. We use a variety of different, there's probably 6 to 7, 8 different games that we play with those on a like bi-weekly or so. No, probably a once a month kind of a deal with the different groups. Mm-hmm.
Love it. That's awesome. And Jeff, you want to add anything? You mentioned the Gaga pits. Do you have plans already for the next purchase, or anything you want to add?
Yeah, so we don't have soccer nets at our school. We're hoping to, and they're expensive. And I know that a lot of schools are similar to mine, where our PE budget is just very, very slim. I mean, ours is $300 for a year, which is, you can buy a few packs of balls for that, and then you're out of money. So with my money, I often, get some extra things. We got nets last year for badminton and racquetball. And next year, though, I would like to get some full size soccer nets for our playgrounds, and kind of, it will help out both my soccer unit, and it'll help ease a lot of that congestion, because right now Gaga ball is a hit on the playground. So they kind of ease some of that congestion over there a little bit.
That's awesome. And yeah, I've heard so many good stories about the community within a school just expanding with things like new soccer nets, being provided, and the joy that kind of comes from that amongst the students, and even sometimes the teachers and administrators, right? Who doesn't love some soccer? So that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. The three of you are amazing. I am just so re-energized already from our conversation today, and I'm certain so many listeners are as well. Thank you so much again for being on the show. Anybody want to offer any final words for our listeners about Health Moves Minds? Dive right in.
So we offered a credit, like continuing ed credit here in North Dakota for like the Health Moves Minds to look through the curriculum. And it turned out like 10 other teachers on my staff wanted that extra credit, which works towards like lane changes and continuing ed and renewing your license in North Dakota. And so it's super fun to like pass those off to the other teachers, and they said, oh, I can tie this in with my homeroom crew, and then I can use this for here. And so just to kind of spread that curriculum around, because those 10 teachers will likely come down to the gym and play with us anyway, but to show them like the back curriculum and how they can like spread that school wide and culture wide. So that's something that we used. And I don't know, in this kind of busy day and age, if we hadn't offered a credit with it, if I just said, hey, check out this cool curriculum that we're doing in the PE world, that, if the staff, we have pretty amazing staff, but I'm not sure they would have taken the time to read through all the lessons and go through all the resources. They really latched onto the mini lessons, and that was fast read and implementation for them. And some of them have already been taught, and they're like emailing me, hey, I did this one. So if you don't do this one, because we're going to keep this in 8th grade, or don't do this one, because I teach 6th grade. So the staff really bought in that way through that opportunity for them.
That's awesome. I love that example.
For me, it's just, I'd emphasize it again. This was my first year, and it's daunting to go from something that and you're familiar with, and to something that you think might be kind of difficult. But it was social emotional learning is important, and it's you kind of, when you're in PE, you have the unique opportunity to experience it and teach in those moments where they're feeling either whether it's competitive or frustrated, or they kind of can't handle their emotions one way or another. And we can kind of in the moment teach them different strategies that will carry outside of PE. And it was easier than I expected, and it transitioned into PE a lot easier than I expected. And I would definitely suggest that even if you're thinking about it, to definitely do it.
I think also that I would want to tell people that you can do as little or as much as you want. And so you don't have to go out and do this big production your first year. You can take little pieces of it and be successful with that, and then just grow on that. And that's what I did. I started out very simple, and then just continue adding to that each year. And then it's not as overwhelming. So it's okay to start small.
I'm so glad you made that point, Krista. I really am. Thank you so much. I think many of our amazing Health Moves Minds teachers have examples where they've done this and this and this and this and so many things. And they love to share these examples. And that's wonderful to hear about. But I can imagine if I'm a teacher that hasn't done this before, I'm thinking that feels like a lot. So I love that you shared that. Thank you so much, Krista. Yes, you can keep this as simple as you want and still have an effective, amazing program and result. And with that, I will also just add to anybody listening, if you feel inspired and you want to learn more, please reach out to us. Stephanie Jumps is our main person on staff who oversees Health Moves Minds, and she is also an amazing one-on-one coach for any teachers who are thinking about this. She can have a planning meeting with you. She can help you prepare to talk to your administration. So reach out, sjumps@shapeamerica.org. Reach out to anyone at the Shape America team. We are here to support you, and we believe in this program, and we are so excited for you to join us in it. So once again, thank you so much to Jeff, to Krista, and to Leah for joining us as guests on today's Shape Unplugged. You all are just amazing. I mean, truly, I can't thank you enough for your efforts and for your time today. Thank you so much.